whether you're up or down, you have to make sure that you're ready to grip fight, and you have to be in the correct position to grip fight. So we're just gonna kind of go over some basic stuff. Again, this is like day one, very basic stuff. But if you're new, or even if you're a little experienced, you may have forgotten about some of the stuff. It's gonna help you out tremendously. We're just talking about posture. From being in the seated guard, you never, unless you have an incredible guard, you don't want to start out here. But since this is white belt George, he doesn't have an incredible guard yet. He's just fat and lazy, and his jiu-jitsu sucks. And I mean, my jiu-jitsu still sucks now, but I wouldn't be doing this as a white belt, okay? So we're up here, okay? So we gotta make sure we're in a seated guard. When we're in a seated guard, we have to make sure that our elbows are inside of our knees here, okay? We also have to make sure that our neck, our shoulders are up, and our chins are tucked a little bit, okay? Just to prevent or to protect any kind of attacks on our necks. Think about it like a puncher when he's posturing here, his chin's tucked and his shoulders are up. When you're boxing, okay, same kind of concept when you're ready to grip fight in jiu-jitsu for this position. So elbows are inside of this knee line, I'm postured up and I'm here. Elbows are close to the body. Something that was told to me as a white belt that I still think about is that open elbows can become broken elbows. So that's something that's still in my head sticks. So here, your knees, all right? You want to develop dexterity in your knees so that they can move around like this. You know, they're able to switch places, and then you're able to reach for your partner with your feet. Grip fighting in jiu-jitsu, especially in guard, isn't just hand fighting. If she comes into me here, it's not just hand fighting, it's foot fighting as well, okay? So fighting with your feet falls into that category. If you don't have great dexterity in your knees here, that can be an issue. So just a couple exercises that you can do are, you can literally be like this, put your hands on your back and swing your knees in like this and out, just to kind of warm up your hips and get your knees ready to be able to do this motion and do reaching motions, right? Something else. And we're gonna start hand fighting. We're gonna start with the feet first, what to do with our feet, and then build our way up what to do with the hand. So something I wish that somebody had told me was how important it is when you're hand fighting on here, your posture's good, you get ready to hand fight, that you have to be attacking their feet with your feet right away. So if your hands are moving, your feet need to be moving at the same time. And sometimes I would even say it's more important to, if we're hand fighting here, to reach with your feet first, just to stop their initial progress. That can be something that can be huge for your game. You can see like an improvement right away, because if I'm here, my feet are dead, they're not doing anything, and I'm hand fighting, my partner can move their feet. Go ahead. See how they're freely to move their feet around, go back? So if Sophia here, we're hand fighting, she can step around my guard. If my feet are dead, goddamn, chill out. If my feet are dead, they're not foot fighting, she's free to move around me, right? So this is something really simple you can work on to where have good posture, elbows in, okay? You're kind of shrugging, protecting your neck. And another thing is I'm not leaning too far back. It puts a lot of stress on your core and your lumbar spine. I'm not too far forward because I'm susceptible to her snapping me down. I'm at this nice mid-range where my head is just directly in the middle here. So when you're in butterfly guard, there's this middle space. If you were to look down, you should be looking straight down in that middle spot. This affords you the strongest posture possible from a sitting position, where if she were to push into me, I could withstand that push. If I'm a little too far back and she pushes into me, I can go on my back and have to fight from here, right? So we're in a good posture. The first thing I want you guys to work on is reaching for these grips as she's coming in, okay? And by reaching, I don't mean extend and reach and grab her, okay? Lead with your head, right? And kind of scoot a little bit towards her, and as you start to make contact with the hand, my feet are gonna reach as well, right? And there's a couple different ways you can reach with your feet, and that's something that I can go in depth later. For now, we're just gonna cover the basics, okay? So here, as we hand fight the hands, my feet reach at the same time. They can either go in front of the foot, they can go behind the foot. When you're going behind the foot, make sure you're doing a hook grip with your foot, as if I was to pull Sophia forward, right? So good posture, hands here, she's coming in, I'm scooting. As soon as we make contact here, look, I'm already reaching for her feet, whichever one's closer. If this one's closer, I'm hooking behind, because this is gonna prevent her from doing outside passes, stepping into the middle of my guard to try to stop her from going through and setting up good passing positions. So here, right? Just hooking these feet. Now look at the other one doesn't just stay there. It's actively, as I'm hand fighting up here, it's actively trying to control the other foot. Just as if you're hand fighting up top, right? If we're hand fighting up top, we're trying to win this battle where I have both wrist controls or maybe both sleeves control if you're wearing the jacket. The goal is the same on bottom with your feet. You want inside control with your feet, but it has to be happening at the same time. So I'm here, wrist control, foot, and now look, this foot's hunting for the other one, because generally she's gonna be trying to hand fight her way back, maybe moving that foot around, and I'm hooking the other foot, hooking this foot, and now look, I've got both feet hooked, I've got my wrist control, and now I'm ready to move on to set up whatever guard it is that you want. We're not gonna go into details onto specific guards here or systems or anything like that. We're just talking about what to do, just initial contact, because I'm sure all of you go to class, especially if you're a white belt, you're brand new, you know everyone's gonna beat you up, you might have a lot of anxiety, you might not even want to go to class because you're like, why am I even doing this? To just get beat up every class. And then you get here, you start to roll, and you're like, in your head, you're like, shit, this dude or girl is about to just thrash me. This is gonna be painful. Have a game plan. If you don't have a guard developed yet, have a game plan to at least frustrate them by having really solid, fundamental hand and foot fighting, okay? So what I want you to working on is making sure you have good knee dexterity, making sure your posture is good so that your partner shouldn't be able to just push you down, right? I want you to always be actively trying to control the top of the wrists, okay? We'll go closer to the camera so you can see. This is the grip that I want here, okay? Here, so she faces me, okay? It's a thumb down grip on both sides. That's what we're actively trying to get. So go back, right? And we're here. I'm looking at her hands. I'm tracking her hands here. I'm not just mindlessly reaching. I'm waiting. And look how my posture stays. So when she approaches me here, I'm beating her to the punch of grabbing those wrists. Maybe grabbing the jacket if they're wearing one. Just controlling the wrist. If they can't grip you, they can't initiate anything, right? So making sure we're staying in front. And it might start out to where when we're hand fighting up here, we're grabbing each other's fingers and doing this. But as you're doing that, I just broke her finger, sorry about that. So as we're doing this, okay, it might start out where we're just kind of messing with our fingers here. But eventually I want you to track over the wrists, okay? But as you're doing that, watch how my legs are engaged. Everything's at the same time, okay? So if we were to start the roll here, go ahead. You see how I hand fought the wrist and my feet immediately attached. So this one attached, this one attached. I have the upper hand here, okay? Now I'm ready to attack with whatever preferred guard I have here. You know, whether it be shin on shin, I can arm drag. I now have access to control the sleeves, collars, go into whatever guards, right? Like I said, we're not going into detail into guards here. We're just basic setups, okay? Basic hand fighting skills. So that way, it doesn't just happen to where this is what normally happens, where we shake hands, they push you down, they fucking pass your guard, and then you're stuck in side control, right? You can prevent all that if you just become a master hand and foot fighter. So your hands and your feet have to be actively working at the same time. Hands are moving, feet are moving, okay? Trying to get inside position on her feet. If you can't get inside position on her feet, go ahead and hand fight. Just put here, all right? Put the foot on top. Okay, that foot's forward, same thing, put the foot there on top. It prevents anything. Then I can switch. I can roll my foot inwards to a pull grip. If I don't like what's happening, I can roll it back to a push grip, and I can off balance her. If she steps back again, I can switch it here. I can cross grab, whatever. I just want you guys to get in the habit of being here like a little shell and go ahead and pass. I'm just passing, I'm moving my feet, I'm hand fighting her, I'm attaching, okay? And I'm constantly moving my feet as much as I do my hands. It takes a while to develop that because you spend your whole life using your hands to do everything. You know, drink water, eat food, touch on your pecker, all that stuff. So, but you don't spend a whole lot of time using your feet. So the dexterity in your feet is way behind, and we have to catch that up. And there's drills you can do, a lot of different things you can do, but just keep it in mind. This is something you can come in early to class with your partner and be here and just say, hey, will you just approach me and try to hand fight me, try to pass my guard, and your goal should be to prevent them from putting them on your back and having your feet actively engaged. So we'll say go, okay, we'll roll, and I'm just hand fighting. Look at my feet are here. I'm just trying to be knowing with my feet on her feet. See, if I constantly keep my feet on her feet, she can't really get a guard going, all right? Now, once you get really good at that, it's not just enough to sit here and hand fight Sophia and foot fight Sophia for extended periods of time. You only need a couple seconds of stopping the initial onslaught, and then you have to immediately turn that to offense. So it has to be, we hand fight, go, I stop. Now that I've stopped the initial pass, I have to go here. I have to either shoot arm drag, I have to pull myself into a guard, I have to pull myself into underneath their hips, anything, it doesn't matter. Don't get in the habit, and this is something I'm guilty of, is becoming so good in certain positions that you can stop them from passing, you can stop them from progressing, but you're not doing anything offensively, all right? Something Heath always talks about is how it became that the person on bottom, the position on bottom became a reactive position and a defensive position, and that's not the case, right? If your jiu-jitsu is good, you should have aggressive, offensive jiu-jitsu from the bottom. You should be here with the same mindset as if you were on top. I'm chasing her, okay? I'm going after her. And it all starts here with being able to hand fight. I'm looking at her hands, tracking the wrist, and look, I'm reaching with my feet, keeping the feet here the whole time, all right? And that goes all the way through. Now, there might be times where you're hand fighting, foot fighting, and the person maybe is a little bit bigger, a little bit faster than you, and they're able to put you on your back. I don't want you to lose the mindset of tracking with the feet and the hands as you're going down. So if we're hand fighting here and foot fighting, and Sophia is able to put so much pressure forward, go ahead, that she puts me on my back, do you see how my feet are still engaged? See that way a little bit? Okay, you see how my feet and my hands are still engaged. Whether you're wearing the jacket or not, the gi or no gi, doesn't matter. My feet still are somewhere in her body, okay? A good rule of thumb, again, this is just a general rule of thumb. It's not strict. All four limbs should always be on your partner. 1, 2, 3, 4, something. I should never have something here in space. I should never have a dead limb, okay? So no matter where I'm moving, all four should be touching something. And it's the same. It's the same thing that I'm doing up here. Go ahead. Preventing her from coming forward, but maybe she's a little more powerful and she's able to still progress forward. And as she's pushing me down, go ahead. See how I'm still, my feet are still attaching to her. My hands are still tracking these wrists. I'm still trying to hand fight and foot fight the entire time. This is before I'm even thinking about setting up a guard or setting up a submission or going for a tap or anything like that. If you don't have the ability to stop somebody from getting to what they want and making them immediately uncomfortable just through hand fighting and foot fighting, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have about submissions or sweeps, because you'll never get there. And if you do get there, you're not going to get there comfortably or in a way that you want to get to, right? So just to review, just something I wish I would have drilled more as a white belt, something I wish that somebody had told me, which when I came to PSF, it was one of the first things that they told me, and he told me to work on, was grip fighting, hand fighting, and becoming really good at it. And it made the biggest difference in my game, was becoming really, really good about this, okay? Making sure if we're in the seated guard, that we're in a position like this, okay? A little bit forward. If I look down, I should be right in the middle. Elbows in, hands in, chin tucked, shrug. My knees should be able to bend freely, and I should be comfortable reaching with my feet here. Okay, I should be comfortable touching her, okay, at the same time as I'm touching the wrist, okay? So that's, I know it's extremely basic, and a lot of you probably already know this, but I know that there's a lot of white belts out there that were like me, 1 month white belts that didn't know this. And maybe your instructor hasn't covered it yet, or maybe your instructor has covered it and you just weren't listening, which happens a lot, because I can't tell you how many times he has shown me a technique and then I'm like, oh my God, this is mind-blowing. Why didn't you teach this to me before? And he's like, I did, like 4 times, like 2 months ago actually. And I look back at my journal and sure enough, he has. So we all forget shit, okay? So this might be something that you might have just forgotten, but I would almost say that it's mandatory that you be an expert master hand fighter before anything else. Because if you can do that, then you can prevent someone else from doing anything else, okay? So that's one thing there is gonna be that hand fight.